Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to the first week of the NFL season, and it's our first week of Bob's Bets. I'm Paul Peck. He is Bob Gaughan. We're from BuffaloSportsPage.com. If you've loved the Stone Cold Locks that Bob Gaughan has been a part of over the years, hopefully you've made a little money off of Stone Cold Locks over the years. Well, this is sort of the video version of it. Bob Gaughan, prognosticator, supreme, has got some picks every week for everybody on some games that he really likes. Today, we're even going to get into a little bit of the season bets, Bob, but there's just something, I know it's different, it's odd, it's still weird, but knowing there's an NFL game and NFL games this week at least makes everybody feel a little better, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is kind of a weird, always week one is interesting because the odds have been out there for so long. But this year, it's so different. You haven't seen the teams as much as you can make out of preseason. You haven't been able to see anything. Every team's being closed-lipped, like you can't report anything out there, my God, because if you report anything, the other team might have an advantage. It's such a weird week one, so different than even we've seen in other years.
So how does that affect the ability to pick games, to understand the odds? I mean, like you said, not that the preseason ever really tells us a lot anyway, but at the very least, you get to see a little bit of how guys are being used. You get to see the rookies in their new roles. Like, we haven't seen any of that. So what's the challenge in picking games under our new normal?
Right. Yeah, it is difficult because you don't know the new systems out there, new offensive coordinators. What's an offense going to look like? What's New England's offense going to look like with Cam Newton versus Tom Brady? And you go through every single team that has those questions. That's different. And it's a challenge because with the new offenses, how are guys gonna click? So it's very difficult from a betting standpoint. I'm always thinking in week one anyway, the defenses might be a little bit ahead of the offenses. So I always kind of look for the unders, a little bit maybe in week one, maybe even more in this week, particularly, Paul, because let's face it, offenses are going to be sluggish. You could see, and I can imagine a lot of penalties, coming around here for the games because teams are just a little sluggish. And then you have offensive coordinators working with new quarterbacks. They're not on the same page. So from a betting standpoint, if I was advising out there, I would say look at the over-unders. Be really careful if you want to bet an over this week.
All right, well, you mentioned it under, so that's where we're going to start. One of two games Bob is going to focus on this week begins with the Miami Dolphins and the New England Patriots. Miami getting 6.5 points in this season opener. The under, the 42.5, 42.5 is the over-under. Sounds like you like Miami getting the points and you like the under on the total points. Tell everybody why.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I like both of these defenses. In this game, I like both defensive coaches. Obviously, Bill Belichick, the defensive genius, and Brian Flores. I think that these teams are a lot closer, but I think both defenses are going to excel. You both have new quarterbacks in there with offensive coordinators. Even though Ryan Fitzpatrick is familiar with Chan Gailey from his days in Buffalo, it's still a little bit of system change there than he's had before, and obviously Cam Newton with Josh McDaniels in there. But particularly the fact that I like both defenses. This is the under I've been looking for a long time. When it came out, before I knew, I was thinking that the over would be like 37. When I saw 43, I loved it. It's gone down just a little bit to 42.5, but I would grab it because I think it's going to go down even further from there. So the under is really what I like maybe the most in this game, but I also like Miami plus the 6.5. Paul, I think both these teams are a lot closer than a lot of people might think. I don't think New England is going to be very good this year. I even liked in the season long pick, I took New England under 9 wins. It's gone down from 9.5 to 9. I don't think they're going to get 10, so I took New England under 9. But in general, I see Miami and a team in a rise. New England coming down a little bit, 6.5 points. Remember, this is the same Miami team that went into New England in the last week of the season when New England had everything to play for home field advantage and came away with an upset. I think Brian Flores knows Bill Belichick's system very well. So I'll take the 6.5. I see a field goal game here. I'll take both sides of this. I'll take Miami plus 6.5 and I'll also take the under 42.5.
Now, the only thing I'm going to disagree with you on, and I know everybody wants to bury the Patriots, and there's obvious reasons to consider that without Tom Brady and some of the other things. I just think, and again, for just like people here in Buffalo know, you don't ever pick the Patriots to lose to the Bills until you actually start to see it happening. I'm in the same boat. I'm not going to pick the Patriots to be bad until I see it with my own eyes. Belichick is too good a coach. They've turned over players on a regular basis. Granted, they're stepping back without Brady, but if Cam Newton can be 3/4 of what he was in his prime, and the way they'll structure their offense around him, and the defense is going to be good, I just think you pick the Patriots to be bad at your own risk.
Well, I'm not saying bad, but I'm saying that they're not going to go 10-6. 10-6 is very good. So it's kind of two different things. I don't disagree with you. A Bill Belichick team is never going to tank. You can't tank with Bill Belichick. I mean, at the worst possible scenario,
4 or 5 games a year just on the coaching.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, worst possible scenario, he's going to go 7-7, 8-8. But I see more of like an 8-8 team than I do a 10-6 team. That's why I like the under. But you're absolutely right. I mean, this team's not going to be horrible. But I just don't see double-digit wins. That's a little different. That's a really good team. And you look at the talent on this team, and we've said this for years. You take away Tom Brady, the talent overall on this team was not great. It was really a lot of Tom Brady and a lot of coaching. So I just don't see a double-digit win team.
I saw one interesting point brought up by one of the writers on The Athletic in a season preview piece just today, was that Cam Newton in his prime, when they had their best seasons in Carolina, they had very little wide receiver talent. It was mostly the tight ends that were the key weapons for Cam Newton. I think that's an interesting correlation, because everybody wants to kill the Patriots because they don't have good wide receivers. Maybe that was part of the thinking, that they know they can win without great wideouts outside because Cam Newton has the ability to do some of those things. All right, let's go to the other game that you are the most excited about. That's the Dallas and Rams game. First ever game in the new SoFi Stadium. If you've watched any of Hard Knocks and seen some of the scrimmages and practices, it looks like an absolutely amazing palace for the Rams and the Chargers to play in. Dallas is favored by 2 in this game, on the road, brand new stadium. What are you thinking?
Well, this kind of goes to what I think for the future bets also. I like Dallas this year. This is a team that I bet against last year, and I bet Philly to win the NFC East. It went down to the last game of the season, and they were able to win it. But I think Dallas is better this year than Philly. I think Dallas has what a great offense they got. I really like the addition of CeeDee Lamb. I mean, you've got a good offensive line still. I don't know if you got the best offensive line in football, but you certainly got an above-average offensive line. You've got Ezekiel Elliott. You got CeeDee Lamb to go along with Amari Cooper. I think this offense is just loaded. Conversely, you look at this Rams team, because of the salary cap jail they were in, Paul, this is a team that is just a shell of its former self that went to the Super Bowl just not that long ago. I also don't like the fact, I mean, as much as I didn't like him as a head coach, I thought Wade Phillips was a great defensive coordinator. They changed defensive coordinators here. They lose a lot of talent. They lose the Todd Gurley's, of the world. They lose Fowler on the defensive side, Roby Coleman. They just, I thought, lost too much talent for me. So I just think that Dallas is a much better team, giving less than a field goal. I'll take the much better team when I'm given less than a field goal.
The only pushback I'll give to you on that is you've got Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, arguably the best defensive lineman and the best corner in the league on that defense. You've got a really good receiving core for Jared Goff with Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. They're tight ends. The rookie Van Jefferson has been drawing raves. I'm not sold on Goff either, and the Rams are really interesting to me. As good as they were in that Super Bowl year, they weren't very good at all last year. Who really are they? I think that'll be an interesting storyline this year that will start Sunday night.
Yeah, the reason I like them under 8.5 for the season is because, Paul, I think they got the worst quarterback in that division. I think that's a tough division. Jared Goff, in my eyes, He's not nearly as good as Russell Wilson. He's not nearly as good as Garoppolo, and he's not as good, in my eyes, as Kyler Murray. So you got the worst quarterback in the division in a very tough division. I just don't see this team getting to 9 wins right now, considering everything that they lost in free agency. Didn't have a first-round pick. So I think the Rams are just going the opposite way here.
All right, those are Bob's best bets for the week. But let's talk a little bit about some of those future bets, because we're at that point now where you're thinking about the season. You've already mentioned, Bob, that you like New England under 9 wins. You like the Rams under 8.5 wins. You like Dallas to win the NFC East. Let's take it to the Bills. Everybody's excited about this Buffalo season, maybe as excited as they've been in 20-plus years. What are you thinking of the Bills on their win total? And you found a pretty good place to go to get some good bets in, too.
Yeah, I really did. And it's just, and I'm talking Labor Day. This is a long time ago, just locally here at the Buffalo Casino. And went in there, and all over the world, it seems like the Bills total is 9, but they have it at 8.5 there. Paul, 8.5, where 9 is a win rather than a push. I love that. I mean, I absolutely love the Bills over 8.5. Now it was minus 143, which means when I bet $100, I only win 70 in return. I don't care. That's value enough. I think getting the win at 9 rather than the push at 9 is value there. So I love the Bills over 8.5 in this one. I think that this team is. As we're expected, if they're going to meet expectations, let's put it this way: if I lose this bet and they go 8-8, Bills Mafia will be really upset, because there is no one in this town that thinks this is an 8-8 football team. Not one person, and I would include everybody that at One Bills Drive. Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott, they're not saying it. They think that this is a very good football team, a playoff football team that should win at least 9, definitely double digits, probably 10 wins. So over 8.5, I think it's an absolute steal.
I agree with you on all of that, and I do believe this is a really, really good team. My only concern, and granted, it's easy to say the schedule looks really, really hard as we sit here today. We don't know what that is going to evolve with as the year went on. But on first glance, man, that is a lot harder schedule than it was last year that the Bills I don't know that the Bills beat a team with a winning record, or maybe just won last year. Does that concern you?
Yeah, I mean, the schedule is more difficult, but I think, when you look at it, they might have the easiest schedule in the division. That's what I'm saying. The other 3 teams in the division got just as tough, if not a tougher schedule than the Bills. And that starts with New England. New England's got one of the toughest schedules in football. So I think just, in order to win the division, you got to win 9 games. And I like their chances in doing that. You do make a point about the schedule. And the one other thing about the schedule, and versus the last 20 years, Paul, and that is, when you looked at a schedule, you were going on like on a 14-game schedule, weren't you? It was like, well, chalk the 2 New England games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not doing that this year.
At least you're looking at it as a 16-game schedule. Right. Then we got to come up with 10 wins out of 14 games. That's really hard to do. Now, no one says, and I'm not saying they're going to sweep New England, but at least they're not guaranteed losses like they have been in previous years.
Could not agree with you more. Josh Allen, how many touchdown passes? That's another popular bet.
This is a good one, Paul. I really like this one. It's 20.5. He had 20 last year. He had 30 overall touchdowns when you include the playoff game, 9 rushing touchdowns, and of course the 1 receiving one in the playoff game. But he had 20 passing touchdowns last year. The over-under is 20.5. 21 touchdown passes is not very good. Let's face it. I mean, 21. If any quarterback,
games, that's less than 2 a game. That's right.
Yeah. That's nothing. I mean, if I would hope he's got 21 touchdown passes. If he doesn't, again, everybody's going to be upset. That's no improvement whatsoever. With Stephon Diggs, you got to think that he's going to have just a little improvement. When I say little, all I need is 1 more touchdown pass than last year. I really like this one over 20.5. I would be upset. Wouldn't we be upset if he only had 21 touchdown passes?
Yeah, I think his running touchdowns go down this year with the addition of a Zach Moss. So I don't think he runs for the 8 that he ran last year, but I think he makes up for those by throwing another 3, 4, 5.
Right, and that's all you need is 1. All you need is 1 more touchdown pass. Paul, I think that's a really good bet, over 20.5 touchdowns. That's not too much to ask for by any means.
All right, well, there you go. We are ready for week 1 of the NFL season, and you are even more ready now. It's Bob's Bets. We're going to bring them to you every week here on Buffalo Sports Page. The best places to spend your money for your best returns come from Mr. Gaughan.
Can I give you a big underdog?
Yeah, go.
You're going to disagree with this one, maybe, but this is money. We want to make money here.
That's right.
The one underdog that I bet, take Detroit to win the NFC North. It's plus 550. And here's why I like that. That division to me is up for grabs. Green Bay was, I think by analytics, the worst 13-3 football team in the history of the NFL. Their over-under at one point went down to 8.5. It went back up to 9 because everybody was betting the under on Green Bay. So nobody believes Green Bay is really nearly as good as they were. Chicago, Trubisky, nobody believes in Trubisky. And then you've got Minnesota. I've got Dalvin Cook on my fantasy team. I'm deadly afraid at week 6, he's going to just say, I'll see you in 2021. I'm holding out. I mean, who knows what's happening there? That defensive line now got another injury. That's not the same defensive line as it was 2 years ago. In my eyes, Paul, that division is up for grabs. Matt Stafford, that team was actually pretty good. They almost
got hurt.
Yeah, they almost beat Kansas City. They lost to Kansas City 34-30 in Kansas City last year. I'm telling you, that team's a lot better than their 3-12 record. If I can get Detroit plus 550, that's my big underdog play. I would give people. I think it's worth a few bucks for people out there.
Always willing to stick his nose out and pick the Lions to win a division title. This is what you get from Bob Gaughan here. It's Bob's Bets, and we'll be here every week on BuffaloSportsPage.com.